Hey guys, it's Miss Thurman here. Today in math, we're going to make our own clocks to help us when we solve our clock problems today and tomorrow, and maybe later the week after spring break. So you guys are going to make these paper clocks. I didn't have a brad fastener that I could stick through the middle so I could make paper hands to go around my clock, so I improvised and used a crayon for my minute hand and a candle for my hour hand. Remember, your hour hand is the little one, it's the short one. And we're gonna say that first. We write that number down first. And the long hand is the minute hand, and that's gonna come second. So with our clock that you guys are gonna make, we would look at the hour hand first. So we see that it is at 2. So if I'm going to write that down, I would say that this is showing me 2. Remember, the hour goes first, and then we have the minute. But with our clock, here I look at the minute hand, and the minute hand is pointing to the 12. But remember, our minutes are not 12, so what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up, and we see that it is pointing to 0, 0. Remember, O clock. The shape of a clock is a circle. So when you guys see a clock, I want you guys to get out the clock that you made and check your work on that. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make a clock like this today. You will need 2 pieces of paper. It can be computer paper, it can be construction book paper, it can be cardstock, any kind of paper. Even if it's notebook paper, you can make it work. You will also need a bowl or something that has the circular shape to trace to make the circle of your clock. You'll need a pencil of any kind, or a pen, or even a marker to trace the circle. You'll need scissors to cut your circle out, and you'll need glue. And then of course you will need to have 2 things to represent your hour hand and minute hand. Like I said, if you have a brad fastener, then you could make your own hands out of paper and fasten it to the middle point here. But if you're like me and that's not something that you have at home, you can find any materials to make your short hand and your long hand for your hour and minute hand. So let's get started. You're going to start by taking your 2 pieces of paper. For me, it was easiest if I lined them up together. I placed my bowl down. We're going to hold the bowl still. I'm going to trace it. So I decided to trace this with a pencil and not a marker because I don't want to get any accidental marks on my bowl. And I'm sure your parents would appreciate that too. They don't want you to mess up their things. So then if I take this away, it might be hard to see in the video, so let me do it a little bit darker. Really, you should be on a hard surface as well. Okay, so hopefully you can see my circle there now. So now that I have those 2 circles, I'm going to hold the paper together and I'm going to cut the circles out. Feel free to pause this video at any time if I'm going too fast for you. By keeping both papers together, I don't have to make 2 circles. I can just make the one and cut them out together. Okay, so make sure you guys recycle that paper. If you don't have a recycle bin, you can throw it away, or you can even set it aside for when we come back to school and you can recycle it in our bin. So now we have our 2 circles, and we want to put glue in the middle of these circles. We don't want to do glue the whole entire thing. So draw a smaller circle on the inside of your, something hard here. I'm going to draw a small circle just to show you about the amount of glue that you would need. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And that's what's going to keep our hour and minute parts of our clocks together. If you have a brad fastener, you won't need to glue this, but because I don't have one, we have to improvise. You may use a glue stick or wet glue, whatever you have available at your house. If you do use wet glue, try not to make it too thick because we want it to dry quickly and not mess up the rest of our clock that we're trying to make. Okay, so there's just a little bit of glue. Now I can take my other clock, my other circle, and just lay it right on top. I'm gonna press in the middle so that it stays there without any problems. Okay, so then the next thing that we are going to do is draw or write our numbers. So I'm actually going to put this hard surface down. So when I think about a clock, I'm going to think about it in quarters. Remember, quarters is also another word for fourths, which means we would divide this shape, the circle, into fourths. So that would be the top point. And this is when I get my marker out, and I'm going to write the number 12. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and write the number 6. So instead of drawing a line to cut my clock in half, I can use the 12 and the 6. So that line would cut my circle in half. But remember, we're doing quarters or fourths, so we want to cut it the opposite way as well. On a clock, if we cut it in half this way, we would have a 3 on this side and a 9 on this side. Okay, so now we need the numbers 1 and 2 in between here. So you kind of just have to use, you might want to do 2 fingers. That might be the easiest. 2 fingers, 2, and then there's 2 fingers for your 3. And this, again, 2 fingers. Now we're going to do 4, 2 fingers, 5. Then we have our 6, 2 fingers, 7, 2 fingers, 8, 2 fingers, 9, 2 fingers, 10, and 11. So now you should have all of the hour numbers on your clock. The next thing we want to do is get our scissors out. This is where we're going to make the flaps so that we can do the minutes underneath. So I'm just going to start here. And this is also why we only glued the inside, because we want to lift up the one piece of paper and leave the other one down just a little bit. And we're going to cut. So cut in there. About an inch or an inch and a half should be enough. And you're going to go through in between every hour number and cut about an inch or an inch and a half slit. You want to be careful that you're not cross-cutting. Like, you don't want to cut in and then end up cutting your 3 off. You just want to cut straight and cut straight. Okay, so now I have created flaps for my circles, or for my clock, sorry. So now I'm going to go through and do my minutes. Okay, so under the 12, when the minute hand's on the 12, what do we say? My class knows we say o'clock. So I'm going to lift up the number 12 and I'm going to do o'clock, because that's when our hour is starting over. That means that our hour hand has officially moved to the next number. And remember, as we go through the hour numbers, our minutes count by 5s, because in between them we have those 4 little ticks. So that means under 1, we're counting by 5s, would be 05, under 2, 10, under 3, we have 15. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20. This makes 25. And the 6 would make 30. Remember, when the minute hand's on 30, sometimes we say half past whatever the hour is. So we could say 1:30, or we could say half past 1. Okay, so 30, then we go to 35, 40, 45. And again, remember when we're on the 45, this is a quarter. Because remember that imaginary line that would cut this into quarters. So this would be, it could be 1:45, or it could be 1/4 till 2. Okay. For the 3, I forgot to tell you. So this could be 1:15, if it looked like this. Or it could be 1/4 past 1, because we always start up here at the 12. That's where the clock will start over. So if the minute hand's on the 3, it's 1/4 past the hour that it's pointing to. If the minute hand is on the 6, then it is halfway past the hour that it's pointing to. And if it is on the 9, the hour hand should be moving this way a little bit more. It could be 1:45, or it is 1/4 until the next hour, 2 o'clock. Okay, so let's keep going. So we had 45, still counting by 5s. 50, 55. And again, we're back at, we would get to 60, so 60 minutes, but we don't write that in a digital time. We start the hour over with 00. So here it is, guys. I'm gonna put a small little dot in the center, just so you know where your hour and minute hand would line up on. And then you have it. You have your hour hand. So if you are looking at a clock that points to this time, and you are asked, what time is it? You could have a couple options. For this, we're gonna look at where the hour hand is first. So for me, that's the candle. Remember, guys, yours could be anything. It could be a lid. It could be a pipe cleaner. Just look around your house for 2 materials that one would be a little bit longer. So I know that the hour hand is just past the 8 and not quite to the 9. So I would write 8 as my hour. And my minute hand is on the 3. So I'm gonna have to move that and lift up the 3. And I see that the time says, the minute says 15. So if somebody asked me what time it was, I could say it is 8:15, or remember, since it's a 3, I could say it is 1/4 past 8. So that would be 1/4 past 8. Okay. So that is, now you have your clock to help you with all of your math problems. I hope that this helps you. Please let us know if you have any questions.